Hi, I'm Ron Eade and welcome to the fabulous test kitchen of Omnivores Ottawa. Today we're going to be making whole wheat bread using Watson's Mill whole wheat flour. This is especially good for those who are interested in the 100-mile diet because you've got a local mill in Manotick, Ontario using grain grown in the Ottawa Valley. Very trendy these days. Today, I previously did a whole wheat recipe using Watson's Mill flour, only Watson's Mill flour, and it came out as a rather dense loaf. You can see that here, very dense, almost like what we used to call a Hovis loaf when I was a kid. What I wanted to do was to lighten it up somehow today, so I'm going to try it again so that when the recipe is published in the Citizen or on the blog or both, that it won't be just so heavy. You'll see this is the whole wheat flour from Watson's Mill, and even by whole wheat standards it is rather dense. This is regular white flour from just regular white bread flour. It's much lighter, much fluffier. So today I'm going to add a wee bit, 1 cup of the white flour to about 4 cups, 4.5 cups, however much it takes of the whole wheat. I'm also going to double the amount of yeast in an effort to get that leavening in there more quickly, to get a better rise, and hopefully get a much more fluffy product. I want my second batch, to rise to about there. You see, it's a bit like a brick right now. It's perfectly acceptable. That's the style it was in the pioneer days, but this is 2008. We can do better. The first thing we did was we took 1/3 cup of water with 1 teaspoon of sugar with the 2 packets of yeast. We combine that. The idea is to make sure your yeast is alive. This is very frothy. Can you see that? This yeast is very much alive. We also had 2 cups of ordinary milk mixed with 1 tablespoon of this barley malt syrup. It's very much like honey. If you can't find this, by all means use honey. I found this at the health food store. It's horribly expensive, but it has a very interesting and distinctive barley malt taste that you may prefer. I tend to heat these just to the lukewarm stage in the microwave because we're not pioneers here, so we're going to do it the easy way. This is also a tablespoon of, well, they say shortening. I'm using butter because I prefer butter over shortening anytime. We're going to put those into the stand mixer and I'll take it from there. We've got about half the flour in the stand mixer. I've added 2 1/2 cups of the whole wheat flour. I've also added the 1 cup of the white flour. This is my remaining 2 cups of the Watson's Mill whole wheat flour that I will add just as I need it. Come take a look inside here. It's rather gooey and wet right now. We're going to start adding it a wee bit at a time and you'll see what it should look like when you've got the right amount. Now you'll see the bread is starting to pull nicely away from the sides of the bowl. And this is what you're looking for. You don't want it to be a very hard, firm mass, in which case you'll end up with boat ballast. This is shaping up nicely. We're going to knead it with the machine for about 8 minutes. We have been kneading this now for about 8 minutes. It's absolutely perfect. We're just going to take this out of the machine. Notice how clean the sides of the pan or the bowl are. It's a little sticky, but it pulled away very clean. That's good. Also, notice it's a little tacky, but it's not stupidly firm. It's not a basketball. And I'm just going to roll this around a little bit gently to try to get it into a shape. Of all the flour, this is how much we did not use. But you know, it depends what the day is like. If it's a humid day, you may use less. If it's a dry day, you may use more. Watson's Mill flour, I find, tends to absorb more moisture than store-bought brown flour, but it's variable. At the end of the day, you have to get that right baby's bum, soft, pliable, maybe a little sticky, but certainly not when you put some flour on it when you're working. This is a greased bowl. We're covering it well with grease. It goes in the bowl. I'm going to cover it with a tea towel, and I've heated the oven for about 30 seconds just to take the cold out of the oven. I'm going to put it now. The oven is off. it's off. I just heated it for 30 seconds. It is warm, but certainly not hot. It's just a bit more than room temperature. I'm going to put it in there and we'll let it rise for about an hour. Hi, this is an hour later. It's risen nicely. I'm going to punch it down to release the excess gas. I'm going to turn it out onto the work surface, work it briefly, and I'm going to get all the excess gas out of it for the moment. I'm going to cut it into two, form it into loaves as best I can. I don't like to mess around, play with it too much. I'm going to put it into the loaf pans. We'll cover it and let it rise for about another hour. We'll see how it goes. I want it to be about an inch above the top of the lip. We'll see. Well, the bread has been rising nicely for about an hour and a half this time in the loaf pans. And I'm very pleased. I said I wanted about an inch rise above the top of the pan, and I've actually got about an inch and a half on there. Oh, well, and about the same there. So I'm really happy with that. It looks like it's going to be they look better than the two loaves that I made before without the white flour. So I'm just going to pop them in the oven at 400 Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes, and we'll see what we get. The bread has been cooked or baked for 30 minutes, and I'm just going to quickly brush on a little melted butter because the top is a bit dry out of the oven, and if you don't do that, I find you could break your teeth. It does not look as risen as perhaps a white loaf of bread, but it still is basically a whole wheat loaf of bread. So let's see what it's like when I turn it out on the rack, let it cool, and then we'll cut into it. Well, it's been in the oven for a half hour. It's now cooled, and I'm going to cut into this, and we're going to compare it with the previous loaf. I think it already looks like it's lighter, but we'll just cut through it and just see. It's not going to be store-bought light because it's not full of unpronounceable chemicals to fluff it up, and this is all natural. It is real bread. Look at that. Now this is before using just natural whole wheat. This I added the extra cup of white flour and a double packet of yeast. And you can see there's a big air hole there, but oh well. But this is going to be lighter. Let's just check this out. And I think we've got a pretty darn tasty product here. Look at the difference. The new My Fiddling Around and the original Dense. And I think we've got a success here. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. This is Ron Eade on Omnivores Ottawa doing a little baking session. Cheers!